This is the Agentic Executive. Today's briefing focuses on a key insight you can use to increase clarity, leverage, and decision-making power. Stay agentic.
Imagine an automated pricing system that, overnight, repriced a long-standing client contract and triggered a churn cascade. Revenue dropped, client trust evaporated, and the root cause was a single opaque model decision. No human judgment, no easy rollback. That outcome cost months of relationship capital in exchange for a few percentage points of margin optimization.
Today, I'll give you one core insight and a practical pattern you can apply this week. Introduce decision stubs, minimal, auditable handoff points that preserve human judgment and optionality while letting agentic systems execute fast. In the next 10 minutes, you'll get the anatomy of a stub, where to place them in your pipelines, how to tie escalation to economic SLOs, and a 3-step checklist plus a copy-ready prompt and escalation template.
First, what is a decision stub? At its simplest, a stub is a compact contract between an agent and a human decision owner. It exposes exactly 4 things: the input context required to make the call, a confidence threshold that maps agent certainty to action, an output contract that specifies the intended effect and allowable side effects, and a rollback token, a single auditable artifact that enables undo and traceability. That 4-part anatomy keeps stubs minimal and practical.
Practically speaking, build stubs into the pipeline at logical boundaries, at a pre-commit gate for product decisions, at a customer-affecting event for ops, or at a finance trigger for pricing and billing. The guiding rule: place stubs where human judgment materially changes future optionality. Keep them lightweight, no more than the required inputs and the rollback token, so they don't become a bureaucratic checkpoint. The stub should be a one-shot contract: input, confidence band, action, rollback. So, architecture patterns that scale use a thin orchestration layer that routes agent decisions through a stub API. The API accepts an inputs object, returns action, confidence, rollback token, audit reference. In low-risk zones, set an aggressive confidence threshold so agent actions auto-execute. In mid or high-risk zones, surface a stub for human review when confidence falls below the set band. Crucially, log the audit reference and rollback token to a versioned data store so every action is reconstructible.
So, patterns create power. One practical pattern is the decoupled review loop. Agents propose, humans adjudicate only when the confidence band triggers escalation, and the system records the rationale as structured metadata. That turns ephemeral choices into reusable knowledge.
Second, risk and incentives. Decision stubs are as much policy as code. Tie escalation rules to economic service level objectives so human attention is priced efficiently. Example: set an economic SLO that human review time is worth up to X dollars per decision. If the expected loss from an incorrect auto action exceeds that SLO, escalate. Add decay windows so escalations resolve or expire. A human must respond window, or the system takes a safe default action. This prevents backlogs and brittle escalation cascades.
Align incentives. Make reviewers accountable for correction costs and learning capture. If a reviewer overrides an agent, require a short structured rationale and tag the incident to a metric bucket. This ties judgment to economics, not vague blame. Over time, those overrides become training data or process changes rather than paperwork. Third, measurement and knowledge capital. Treat agent actions as potential learning events. Track 3 metrics at minimum: true positive auto actions, value captured without human input; false positive auto actions, errors that required rollback; and override cost per incident. But add one more structural metric: reproductive value. How often a given stub or prompt led to reusable decision logic. That converts operational output into knowledge capital you can invest in. Use audit logs to capture not only the action, but the state snapshot and the concise rationale when a human intervenes. Store these snapshots as indexed artifacts so models, rules, and prompts can be updated against real cases. Over time, the stub network becomes a catalog of decision points where human judgment matters most.
Now, a concrete 3-step checklist you can execute this week to add a decision stub to one workflow. Step 1, pick a single workflow with measurable economic impact and an existing agentic decision point. Step 2, define the stub contract. List required inputs, set a confidence threshold tied to an economic SLO, and specify the rollback token format. Step 3, run a 1-week shadow trial where the stub logs actions and overrides but does not change live customer outcomes. Collect audit logs and 2 override rationales, and then iterate.
Copy-ready prompt and escalation template you can paste into your pipeline. Prompt: given inputs, customer profile, contract terms, recent activity, propose action and a confidence score. If confidence greater than or equal to 0.9, return auto-execute with rollback token. If 0.6 is less than or equal to confidence, less than 0.9, create stub and escalate to reviewer with deadline 4 hours. If confidence less than 0.6, return recommendation and log for human decision. Escalation template. Reviewer receives stub ID, input snapshot URL, proposed action, confidence score, expected impact estimate, and 2-sentence rationales of prior similar cases. Reviewer must respond with approve, modify, reject, plus structured rationale within deadline. Use this as your baseline and tweak thresholds to your economic SLOs.
So, precision drives agency. Run the shadow trial, measure override rates and override cost, and then tighten confidence bands where false positives dominate. Standardize the stub template across teams so you avoid inconsistent implementations that preserve opacity rather than clarity.
Quick recap. 1 core insight. Every automated decision should expose a minimal decision stub to preserve judgment and optionality. Supporting point 1, a simple anatomy and lightweight placement pattern keeps stubs from becoming bureaucracy. Supporting point 2, tie escalation and thresholds to economic SLOs, so human attention is priced and decay windows prevent cascades. Supporting point 3, measure agent actions as knowledge capital. Track true positives, false positives, override cost, and reproductive value to turn actions into learning.
An example outcome: a support automation team added stubs to escalation routing. Within 2 sprints, they cut unnecessary human reviews by 60%, reduced costly misrouted escalations, and turned override rationales into a prioritized backlog of prompt fixes. They kept human judgment where it mattered and improved optionality for future changes. If you take one practical homework item this week, run the 3-step checklist on a single workflow and execute a shadow trial. Collect 2 override rationales, 1 rollback token use, and a short log of economic impact. That evidence will guide your next threshold and template iteration. Subscribe for daily briefings to keep these patterns top of mind. Apply this framework, and you'll preserve scarce human judgment while unlocking agentic speed. Make your next move count. Stay agentic. You've been listening to The Agentic Executive. Apply what you learned today and make your next move count.